Battletoads, we're on Xbox One X. This is indeed enhanced. We're getting a 4K resolution with no HDR support. This is the latest entry in the Battletoads series. It again follows Rash, Zitz and Pimple as they're back in an all-new adventure where they're trying to once again get fame and glory. So this is a rather interesting brawler in the sense that only part of it is a brawling experience. The combative segments of it are actually really well done, a ton of fun and really unique, but yet it's filled with weird mini games, and we'll jump into that a little bit later. So this does debut and also will always be on Xbox Game Pass. Since it is a Game Studios title, it is also a Xbox Play Anywhere title available on PC as well as console. And with that, it is also a 3-player local couch co-op brawling game. It's a bit weird that this doesn't have online multiplayer, considering the focus of multiplayer on the Xbox platform, and I feel that that is ultimately a big disappointment, but I can see why they didn't include it due to the weird mini-games that are included throughout this experience, which again are rather bizarre. So with it, you do get some cool hover bike sequences that you kind of drive around on. I can see some people having a lot of difficulty with these. They do give you fair checkpoints, the latter one doesn't, however. So with this review, we're only able to talk about narrative elements up to the end of the first act. This is a 4-act game, and it is decently long and quite challenging. That's right, you're definitely going to get a bit of a challenge. It starts off fairly easy, but definitely amps up in regards to feeling a tad overwhelming, which is kind of expected because Battletoads is more of a hardcore brawling title. And for a small bit of time, this really was channeling that Streets of Rage 4 awesome, retro return brawling gameplay, and then it just devolves into this series of weird mini games. There's 4 spaceship twin stick levels. There's whatever mini game this was that was just dreadful for ship fixing. You did this 5 times in a row. There was this platforming stuff. It was kind of stupid. It was I'm here to do brawling. It's Battletoads. This carpet sequence with hit detection, that was awful. But it's a brawling game. I want to brawl. That's what Battletoads is supposed to be like. Small little mini games that act as transitional periods between levels. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fun. They had this rock, paper, scissors thing, kind of stupid, but a good way to kind of break up the brawling gameplay, give you a bit of a rest. But then they just do mini games in Act 3, and it's terrible. That part is just awful. I don't get the point of it. And then you get to these brawler sequences, and they're fantastic. They really did flow well. It's cool in single player how you can swap and tag in the different characters and do these cool combo moves to bash enemies. That was great. I love the art style here. I think it looks fantastic. They really did a good job with the aesthetics here. Beautiful cartoon look. I think it modernizes the Battletoads in a really cool way. I think it works well for them. But so little of the game is actually brawling. It doesn't make any sense. So for those that want to come back and replay it, there are collectibles to gather in each level, and there's scores you can get to depending on your performance in battle, and I think that's a nice extra little touch. There isn't anything outside of that, however. I finished the game in about 4 hours. That's what the game's total tally was once I completed it, so it's not a very long game. But a brawler shouldn't be. But then again, a lot of this isn't even brawling. The parts I had difficulty the most with were the ones that had nothing to do with the concept of what I expect when I'm coming to play this genre of game. It's weird. It ruins the pacing of the experience, and it doesn't make any sense. The story was very well done, I thought. For a brawling game, they actually had a story with a bit of heart, a lot of great humor. The meta kind of concepts in this are a lot of fun to experience. I like the core characters. I like their different attitudes. There was a neat little twist up with one of the characters that I thought was fun. It was just the level supporting it didn't really make any sense. Now 1 or 2 or 3 mini games, I'm okay, cool, this is kind of a neat change up. But once it becomes no brawling for basically the entire 3rd act, I'm just what is this? There was a point where I actually stopped. I was doing, filming this for a walkthrough part 2, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I say this, I thought this was a brawler. You're sitting there, you're well, what? Why aren't I actually doing that? the levels they did make were really good. And if they had a full game that was just this style of brawling, you know, with maybe a few little mini games sprinkled in, it would have been a really, really great game. I still think it's kind of fun and quirky, and it's got a neat little element to it. Again, the element of not having online multiplayer is a huge disappointment. I don't know why they didn't have that. I mean, it was known from, I think, the start they said it wouldn't have online. So I guess we could give it a pass there, but in this day and age, it's still kind of like, you should have had that included, especially with the focus on Game Pass for this type of experience. It's something you want to play with others online. It's great that you can play it locally, but you get the gist of what I'm saying there. But I think, you know, from a combative point, they actually really nailed the style of gameplay. It's fast, it's cool, the art style is just really neat, it's got good pacing. I like the story elements that were included. It's just the minigames drag down the experience. I would have almost preferred a game half the length that just focused on the battling. You look at Streets of Rage 4, it's not a terribly long game, but it's great. It's very well done. And you would hope that the revitalization of Battletoads would be, you know, kind of hardcore to a degree, but also have that, you know, element of fun and really focus on the brawling, because they had neat ideas. They had some puzzles that were built into the game that didn't really slow down the pacing, but the side mini games, it's just perplexing. It's like they were given a meeting point and they're like, we have to throw in more game time to this or something. I just don't get it. I just don't understand their inclusion in the game. 1 or 2 is fine, but you do it over and over and over again. And it just bogged everything down. I don't know. It was just weird. But I think they've got a decent amount of gameplay to it with that extra bloating. So for a brawler title, you know, there's a good amount of stuff here. I would have liked some sort of extra, like, mode on top of it. Maybe like a boss rush or some sort of arcadey battling thing or some different challenging options. That would have been a good inclusion. Overall, I think for the tier of this game, it's okay. It's alright. The brawling, top notch, very well done, so cool. Art style, lovely, great. Co-op, neat, should have had online. When it comes to those mini games, though, fun for a few seconds. It's like they do a bunch of mini games, but they're not really good at any of the mini games that were shown, if that makes sense. They didn't exceptionally excel at any of those, and they just kind of felt like they were slowing down something where I wanted to get back to battling and being a Battletoad as a brawler.